Hi everybody, it's Pat Kramer. It's June 26, 2012, and I wanted to talk to you briefly about the big immigration decision that came down yesterday from the United States Supreme Court. This, of course, was the case of Arizona versus United States, which was the federal government's challenge of the state law that Arizona had passed a few years back that imposed some pretty tough immigration restrictions on illegal aliens in the state of Arizona. And the federal government had challenged this law by saying that it was basically preempted or trumped by federal law, and the Supreme Court largely agreed with the federal government. And in fact, of the four provisions that were being challenged before the court, the court struck down three of them. So that in and of itself was a big victory for the federal government. Now, the fourth provision, which was the most controversial decision, was what came to be known as the papers, please, or show me your papers provision of the law, which was the section of the law that required a police officer to inquire about the immigration status of an individual who was arrested or detained if the officer had reasonable suspicion to believe that that person was in the United States illegally. The court upheld that provision for now, which Arizona hailed as a big victory, and in some respects it was. However, what the court said should give Arizona some pause. What the court did was they said, right now, on this record, there's not enough evidence to suggest that this section of the law is unconstitutional or is being enforced in an improper manner. However, what the court explicitly said was that they were not foreclosing a future challenge to that section of the law. And the court kind of gave that section of the law a very narrow ruling, or narrow reading, I should say, and they basically outlined what Arizona could do to enforce that law in a reasonable manner. But the court explicitly said that a future challenge to that section of the law is still available, and you can be sure that those future challenges will occur as this law starts to get enforced. So overall, I think it was a pretty strong victory for the federal government, even though Arizona was touting its victory as well. And both sides have something to crow about a little bit. But what's really interesting about this decision, though, is the way that the decision was written. And what Justice Kennedy said in his majority opinion was that the federal government needs to speak with one voice on matters of immigration. And it was really a case about federal power. And the court made a pretty strong statement that while states might have some role to play in matters of immigration, the federal government really is the top dog when it comes to immigration. Now, of course, what everybody wants to know is, can we glean anything from this decision about the healthcare decision that's going to come down in a couple of days? Is there anything any tea leaves we can read, because that case is also about federal power, although it's in a different context. And the interesting thing about the immigration decision is that Justice Kennedy and the Chief Justice Roberts were in the majority opinion. So people are starting to wonder now, okay, what does that mean for the healthcare? Will Justice Kennedy and Chief Justice Roberts vote to uphold the healthcare law as well? And because that also, like I said, is a case about federal power. So it'll be very interesting to see what, if anything, this immigration ruling, has to do with the healthcare provision, as far as where the justices vote and where they align themselves in that vote. But we'll know that in a couple of days, because the healthcare decision comes down on this Thursday. So that's the immigration decision, Arizona versus United States, and overall, I think a pretty strong victory for the federal government. Although the federal government didn't get everything they asked for, they got most of it. And the one provision that was upheld by the Supreme Court is still subject to a future legal challenge, depending upon how that provision is enforced by the police in Arizona. So that's it. I'll make another video this Thursday about the Affordable Care Act decision, the healthcare decision. That'll be, of course, interesting. That's the biggest decision of the term, and probably the biggest decision in several terms. So we'll look forward to that, and I will see you then. Take care.